Ismail Momoniat, a former Treasury DG and current head of the South African delegation to the Financial Action Task Force, joins us now in relation to the same issue. Momo, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Now, what is your view of what South Africa has accomplished in the last 2 years in removing itself from that grey list?
I think what we've achieved is to begin to reverse the effects of state capture, at least on the law enforcement and sanctioning side. Basically, South Africa did get grey listed because our institutions were weakened during state capture. And when the FATF did the mutual evaluation of South Africa in 2019, it was too soon for us to have recovered from the effects of state capture. Also, it's a process to get back to where we were, say, in 2010, 2009. And so us getting on the grey list, we had to demonstrate that we were able to deal with money laundering, that we were able to identify money laundering and terror finance transgressions, that we were able to act proactively, that we were working together, the various authorities, to investigate them, to recover proceeds, and to ensure prosecution. Let me add that whilst this is a tremendous milestone that we've reached, we are just getting back to where we should have been, is the kind of norm. But we need to get above that norm because exiting the grey list just means that we've started to tackle our problems. It doesn't mean we've solved them. Far from it, we still have to do much more. And given the high levels of corruption, especially in our procurement system, and some of the incidents that have been highlighted in the Madlanga Commission and in the inquiry in Parliament, we can see that there's much more work that needs to be done for us to go beyond what was normal before and to reach a new higher normal, and to do it for the people of this country. If we can rid this country of corruption, we will get more service delivery, and we would get economic growth and investments back into the country.
Momo, you talked moments ago about the levels of corruption that we're witnessing, or that we thought we dealt with. The state capture was one, and as soon as we almost think may have turned the corner, the Madlanga Commission pops up, and greater amounts of crime and corruption are being put to the fore. Does this have any implication on South Africa remaining off the grey list? Is it any way likely to draw us back? What is it that we need to safeguard?
So, that's the point. I think that whilst we might have got rid of the big Guptas and the big, more centralized form of corruption, I think that it's become much more decentralized. And as we've seen in the Tembisa hospital incident and all those 3 or 4 blue Lamborghinis, that the people who have looted our system are still walking the streets, even if some of their assets have been seized. And what our system needs to do is to be able to act much faster and more effectively. The FATF recommendations were testing us for how effective are we in enforcing our own laws. And clearly, we have been poor at doing so. So what needs to be done is for us to begin to act speedily, more effectively, and to get such people prosecuted as soon as possible. Now, we also face a new mutual evaluation or review by the FATF, which is a normal review, which we'll be doing late next year and most of 2027. So we've got to also demonstrate that we are continuing to improve from where we left off after grey listing, that we are tackling on many more cases, and as I said, dealing with them in a speedier way. So it's in our interest, both as a country, but also to comply with FATF's standards, that we do so, and we continue to do so from now till 2027 and beyond.
Now, how much credit goes to the private sector in this process of getting South Africa off the grey listing?
Look, grey listing is about the failure of the authorities, not about the private sector. So most of the work, and we really, and I must congratulate our excellent team from all across government, whether they were sitting at the NPA, whether they were sitting at the DPCI, the Hawks, whether they were sitting at one of our financial sector regulators. They've all, done a Herculean effort just to make sure that we get off the grey list. So what we're going to have to do is to maintain that momentum to ensure that our system moves from strength to strength.
So there's a lot of celebration at the moment as far as South Africa coming off the grey listing. Is it too early to celebrate? Or is it important to acknowledge the amount of progress that has been made in the last 2 years, but also take context of the fact that there's more work that needs to be done to remain off the grey list and obviously to improve the standing?
Hugo, we can celebrate, but not too much, okay, because it is a significant milestone. But we need to not be complacent. The worst thing to do is to become complacent and think we've solved all our problems. It's apparent to all South Africans we're far from having solved our problems on corruption and crime. And we've got to do much more and to continue to work to actually ensure that our system can move not as fast, but even faster than the criminals. At the moment, we're moving like a tortoise to deal with crime. So we got to not just match the pace of criminals who tend to move very fast, especially when it's organized crime. They move like water. They know what gaps to go around. We've got to move faster than them to stop them and to act against them when we identify such crimes.
So how does that actually happen, Momo? How do we move faster when there seems to be political will to deal with those that have been implicated in crimes? I mean, if we look at what's happening now with the Madlanga Commission, we go back to state capture. How many of the individuals that were fingered in the huge amounts of corruption that took place are actually behind bars or have been taken to the courts of law?
Look, let me say that we enjoyed a lot of political support from cabinet, from the president, to make sure that they had done everything on their side to make it easier for us to get off the grey list. That commitment obviously needs to be maintained. I think what you see from the Madlanga Commission is to see that the tentacles of organized crime tend to be all over. And what we need to do, and I don't have an answer to your question, I think that's the challenge that we face. And we need to get all our heads together and plan more effectively how we deal with organized crime. No one person can do it. And we've got to make sure that we also have systems of integrity, perhaps lifestyle audits. We need to move much faster than we do. It seems in South Africa we identify, but it still takes us forever, say, to remove those that are tendering, to get them off the procurement system as soon as possible, rather than wait till they are actually convicted. We've got to find means to stop the bleeding. The way I put it is our procurement system is bleeding. There's a lot of people who are looting it. As you said, it's more decentralized and all over the place. We've got to stop the bleeding immediately and then act to make sure that none of these parasites come anywhere near our procurement system or conduct other forms of corruption against the state.
Momo, the reality of life is you talk about the fluidity of the criminals of organized crime and the fact that it is organized, right? Are we as organized as a government, as authorities? Because huge amounts of money are going into ensuring that those that are in the space of trying to break the system, if you will, or work around the system and pilfering money from government seem to be doing a really good job of it. Do we have the resource? Are we putting in sufficient, are we building sufficient capacity to ensure that we're able to stop them in their tracks?
No, we are nowhere near as organized crime is. That's clear. If we were, then you wouldn't see so much of it. But we are better organized than where we were in 2019. There's no doubt that the new leaderships which came in after state capture have played a role to rebuild their organizations. But unfortunately, time and crime don't wait for us. We've got to move much faster to preempt them. And I think that's a challenge we face. And it's not just a question of resources. Yes, more resources would help, even in these difficult times fiscally. But we also need more expertise. We need forensic capability. We need to be able to handle digital evidence. And we need to act much faster when we tackle crimes.
Mehmet, appreciate your time. Thank you so much for speaking to us. Ismail Momoniat, former Treasury DG.